Hey everyone, welcome to a very special episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Truth. It's your girl Naya Angel, and I'm here with my co-host and homies for life, Mr. PAT and E-Man.
What up?
What is good? What's good out there? What's good out there?
So I'm super hyped and excited about this week's session. For all our fans out there who have been listening and supporting us, first of all, thank you so much for your support.
Yes,
And I know
thank
we
you.
normally do our little shameless plug at
Respect.
the end, but if you haven't yet, go to YouTube and subscribe, please.
Please
Subscribe.
subscribe. Please
Subscribe,
subscribe.
Yes.
share, like, and share.
Yes, please like and share, subscribe. So, for all of our listeners out there, every one of us on the Good, the Bad, and the Truth podcast is an absolute comic book and movie enthusiast. All three of us are super
Agree.
hyped and excited because this session is dedicated to discussing the latest movies coming out in 2021 that are of the superhero genre. So we have 4 movies that we're going to discuss, but we are also going to reference a few others. So for anyone who doesn't necessarily want to hear any hints or possible spoilers, again, these movies did not come out. This is just us discussing what are being seen in the trailers. We're just giving you a little heads up there. Okay, so fellas, we are going to start with Marvel's Black Widow. So,
All right.
yes,
Oh yeah. Oh
good
yeah.
stuff.
About time.
Yes, right?
Finally.
Finally gonna get Black Widow.
Exactly, right? Because
Finally.
it was supposed to be released on May 1st, but obviously that didn't happen. And now it has a new release date of July 9th. So let's cross our fingers that it actually happens this time.
Oh, July 9th sounds pretty dope. I might actually go to theaters and go watch it. To be
Yeah. I
honest.
actually went to theaters I was telling you guys, I actually went to the theaters to see Mortal Kombat. And that's
Yeah,
why
I remember.
that was
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember you telling us.
Yeah.
right. That
mhm.
was one of the reasons I was so pissed off when it was so trash.
That director still need to fire himself. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
I'm just saying still.
I remember you said he need to give himself that pink slip, sir.
Yeah, he definitely give himself that pink slip. No lie. No lie.
That'll be a fatality to himself.
Right.
Yeah, he needs that fatality to himself.
Fatality to that job, bro. So here's a quick overview for those of you about the new Black Widow movie. And this is, of course, from a site where we will share the link once we release the episode. It's from marvel.com directly. And the overview is: in Marvel Studios' action-packed spy thriller Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, confronts the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. Pursued by a force that will stop at nothing to bring her down, Natasha must deal with her history as a spy and the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. So, I don't know if a lot of you all remember, but previously in the Marvel movies, the Avenger movies, and I think it was the very first one, she actually said, and it was to Loki, that there are a lot of things on her ledger that, are bad marks, right?
I remember that.
Yeah, she actually said that in that scene where Loki is in that big old glass cage thing that Nick Fury mentioned they had created actually for the Hulk. Loki is standing in that, and Black Widow goes down to interrogate Loki so that they can figure out what Loki's plan is. And it's at that time Loki's like interrogating her or whatever, and she says to him, I have a lot of things in my ledger that I want to wipe clean, or something along those lines. So basically, she's referencing the bad things she did in her past before she became an Avenger. Like, actually, even before she became a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because, you know, the Romanov story is that she was a Russian spy that was like,
that is true.
Right. Like, she was bred to be like this Russian super soldier spy. Right.
Yep.
So the timeline of this movie is important because it takes place after Civil War and right before Infinity Wars. So this is the time where like they're in trouble, right? Like Natasha Romanoff, Steve Rogers, the Falcon, Sam, they're all in trouble at this point because they're the ones that were labeled like the rebels against the Accords, the Sokovia Accords, right? Which of course the Sokovia Accords came about because Scarlet Witch accidentally killed those people, or excuse me, that was Legos. Because when Sokovia happened, which was the situation with Ultron, they actually dropped the city and, you know, a lot of people died, even though they saved a lot of people. So this movie takes place after Civil War and right before Infinity Wars. So that's important to keep in mind. This is all what she's experiencing basically while she's on the run. Okay. So one of the things that I'm super, super excited about in this movie is that David Harbour is one of the characters. Now, I don't know if you all watch Stranger Things or not. It's
I do not. I think it's a stupid show.
My God. I absolutely
I still love you though.
I just never watched it before. I don't know if it's stupid or if it's good or bad. I don't know.
Gosh, so good.
I just know it's not interesting, so that's all I'm gonna say.
What?
Still love you though.
Oh my gosh, even that is one of my favorite shows. What are you doing to me? Okay, so just really quickly, Pat. So Stranger Things is like a nostalgia because it takes place in the 80s, kind of like scientific show where it's basically like some weird occurrences happening in this small town, and it follows the kids that are like investigating the occurrences. It's almost like It, but a TV show and not so scary, if that makes sense. It's like it's like a TV show version of It. So
gotcha.
That's what I heard, but I still don't like it though.
No, that's understandable. It's not everyone's cup of tea, right? Like it's funny because I wasn't a huge fan of X-Files at first, but it was like later years when I went back and rewatched it, I was like, oh, okay, this show was actually okay. It was decent. But when I was younger, I was like, man, X-Files is boring.
That's the same thing I said about X-Files.
Yeah, I can see that, especially back in the day. At age we were at when that came out. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But so, okay. So the person that I was referring to, his name is David Harbour. He is a character on the Stranger Things TV show named Harper, a sheriff and all of that stuff. I absolutely love that guy. Like, he's an excellent actor. In this, he's kind of playing like the father figure to Natasha and her sister. So if you watch the trailer, he's the one that's sitting at the head of the table with the long hair and the beard, the scruffy beard. And his character is actually somewhat like a similar to a Russian version of Captain America in the Marvel universe. He's a do-gooder, and he, protects the innocent that can't defend themselves. He's similar to, and he's had some kind of like changes or experimentation done to him as well. So he has strength that, exceeds what a normal man should have. And so he's kind of like the Russian version of Captain America. But the actor that's playing him, David Harbour, I'm super, super excited about seeing him. And then the other thing that I'm super excited about with this movie is that it just, for me, the trailer was much grittier than what we have seen Black Widow be in the past, because like in every movie, she's ready to kick ass, right? Like that's who Black Widow is. But this movie is a little more dark, for lack of a better term, in the sense that like you're going to actually see the past that she's referencing, where she was not a good person, where she went in because I think even in a later Avenger movie, it references that she killed like some kind of politician because she was told to go do that. And that politician was actually like a good person. So this movie is going to show a side of, at least this is what I think, is going to show a side of Black Widow that's not so just the good girl with the dope fighting skills. It's going to show the Russian assassin side of her that was like, about her business and was taking people out if she had to. So I'm super, super excited about that.
Same with me.
Same here. What I would add to that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead. No, sure.
Now, what I would add to that real quick is, so for the folks out there who aren't familiar with the comics, Black Widow actually used to be a villain. If I remember correctly, she started off as a villain, and then she became a hero. So
that's true.
It sounds like this movie right here, and that's one of the reasons why I'm excited to see it, go see it, is because we're gonna see, just like you said, her more villainous side, I guess. We're gonna see how she was before she became a good gal. I'm not a good guy, but a good gal.
She was always bad.
So
she was always bad.
She was definitely always a badass. And she started off, actually her and Hawkeye started off as villains. And I believe, and somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they both started in an Iron Man comic. That's where they first made their appearance.
That is actually true. But if you guys remember the mid 90s, I think it came out in 95, that Iron Man cartoon series.
I remember that cartoon.
Yeah, that was my favorite one.
Me too.
So if you hear Tony, him and Hawkeye, they're actually talking about, and Tony was actually talking about Hawkeye's like past and whatnot, about how evil he was and whatnot. Him and Black Widow and whatnot. So it's very interesting you say that, because it just made me come back to that cartoon series show, because I loved it, because I used to watch it.
Yeah, I used to really fuck with that cartoon, that Fantastic Four, and that whole Marvel action hour.
That was the good shit back then. The X-Men one, all of those were lit. And you're absolutely right, Pat. Her first appearance was as a recurring non-costume Russian spy in Iron Man in 1964.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I was like, I know she started off, if I remembering correctly, she started off in an Iron Man comic. So I think it was good that actually the Marvel Cinematic Universe introduced her in Iron Man 2. So they introduced her in an Iron Man movie, to the larger audience out there.
Exactly. So I think which followed the comics. That's the way it went in the comics. So that was great. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, those are definitely good points. And one thing that's interesting to me is that, people need to keep in mind that as of like to date in the Marvel universe, where the Marvel universe stands right now, Black Widow is dead. She died at the end of Endgame, right? She sacrificed herself.
That's right.
She sacrificed herself so that Hawkeye could get the Soul Stone. Okay, so I think this is going to be interesting, because I can imagine that from this view of her story, it's going to invoke a lot of like emotions of, sympathy and camaraderie for her, just for fans to have to realize, okay, but this character for future films is dead.
Right.
Well, that's true. I mean, if you watch the Ant-Man, I think they done 2 Ant-Man movies, correct? I believe.
Yes.
So yeah, if you watch the one with him and Wasp and whatnot, and how they ended up in the universe to save Dr. Pym and whatnot. And dang, I forget what is Pym's wife's name again.
I forget the wife's name. I know he's Hank Pym, but let me see what his.
Yeah, I keep forgetting the wife's name. She's the first original Wasp.
I want to say it's Janet.
There it goes.
Yeah, you're right.
Janet. It is
Janet Den or Diane or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then they go back. They shrink, and she ended up into that universe, the same universe that Steve Rogers ended in at Endgames and whatnot. So, and basically at the Endgames, they basically went back in the time. So, I think, something interesting might happen when they make that third Ant-Man movie. And I feel like it's going to have to do something with the Black Widow and whatnot.
That's an interesting theory. So basically, you're theorizing that perhaps she could be brought back through them going into like another one of those parallels, because even in Avengers Endgame, Ant-Man explains to them that like the quantum world works differently.
That's what happened.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say the only thing to remember though is that in Ant-Man's situation, he actually was already lost in the quantum realm when the blip happened, which is the reason he didn't get affected.
Yeah.
And when Widow dies, she is in like a real world situation, if that kind of makes sense, where the Soul Stone requires a death regardless of what's going on outside of that portal it's in, if that kind of makes sense. So the only thing that I would say is that it is not out of the realm of possibility. You never know with Marvel. You could be absolutely right. But I think they would probably have to give a lot. They would have to do a lot of tying ends up to make sure that makes sense. But it's an interesting theory, man.
Didn't Thanos kill his daughter, by the way? To get
in the first one, he killed
he killed his daughter to get the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
I think what's his name? What's the leader's name of the Garden of the Galaxy?
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. Yeah, the goofball and whatnot.
Everyone hates Star-Lord, and I maintain that Star-Lord at the end of the day, and I know this is going on to another subject within it. But here is the thing, though. At the end of the day, you're talking about the fact that Doctor Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme. Prior to him doing the little weird meditation thing where he could see what those futures were, and keep in mind, he's seen those futures from that point in time. Prior to doing that, he had the opportunity to not go into space with Tony, right? He said when they're on the spaceship and they've saved Doctor Strange, and when I say they, I'm referring to Tony and Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, and they've saved Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange makes a suggestion that they should return to Earth. Had they returned to Earth and he went with his first instinct, and keep in mind, he's the damn Sorcerer Supreme. Okay. At this point, only person close to matching his power is Thor or Scarlet Witch. Okay. He instead listens to Tony and doesn't go back to Earth, where he could have just gotten Vision and putting him in a parallel universe. Because think about this. At that point, if he puts Vision and Black Widow into a parallel universe, in which only he can retain them, then Thanos is in the exact same situation he was always in, whereas he can't kill Doctor Strange because then his spell becomes super binding, which means there's no way to break it. Like, remember he said that? He said, you'll find trying to remove the stone off a dead man difficult, right? So they can't kill him they wouldn't have been able to kill him to get Vision back. And that wouldn't have been the only outcome. In my opinion, Doctor Strange has the most onus for what happened because he had the power. He had the power to not only do that, he could have sent fucking Vision back. He could have taken the time to go get Benicio del Toro's character. I mean, why didn't they stop and think about it? If he's after all of the stones, try to intersect the people that he has to get the stones from. You got Vision being protected on Earth by Wakanda, and yes, Black Panther was there and Captain America, but these are two superheroes who are not necessarily as mythically powerful as you are and Scarlet Witch are. Why wouldn't y'all band together to put those remaining stones in a parallel universe?
That's
so
interesting.
I
You say
digress,
that,
but I said all that to say Strange is the most at fault.
I mean, don't put Strange at fault. What really
Strange
pissed me
is more
off?
at fault than Star-Lord,
what pissed me off when doing the Infinity Wars, what really pissed me off is that they got Bucky locked up in a safe. You know what I'm saying? Because if you remember the Black Panther movie, and you remember how it ended, where they were all at Wakanda, and then basically they removed Bucky's
Yeah, that's the white. I was just going to say that's when he's White Wolf at that point.
Yeah, now he's White Wolf because they removed basically the Hydra arm and they made him a new arm and they gave him a new name. Now I'm like, okay, cool. I'm thinking he gonna be out in the movie. No, you know what they did? They made the Falcon and the Winter Soldier television series, which is a really good series, by the way.
Yes, it is. Don't say anything because I'm not finished watching it yet. I'm only on episode 4.
Man. All right.
Then I ain't saying anything. I ain't saying nothing.
Episode 4.
All right. Yeah,
I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah.
But it just bothered me because I'm like, maybe they're going to connect this. So now you leaving me, I'm like, you leaving me with another story. But then I found out there's supposed to be a Black Panther 2 in 2022.
Yes.
So if you're going to finish this story, let's finish it off right and whatnot. And I feel like they might even show a little bit what was going on during this whole Thanos and crossover with like the Infinity Wars and whatnot. That'd be really dope, because then you got something going on. Or, Bucky was probably out there, but he was probably in the background scene because they focused so much what was going up front and everyone going after Vision, so
right. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So I'm just trying to draw up what I can draw up, but that's what's going on in my mind right now. But
that's an interesting point.
Yeah, but
how they're going to use Bucky in it? Well, I don't know for Black Widow specifically, but what I do know is that the trailer to me looks like it's going to be very exciting and riveting. It's definitely action packed. To
like
say
Sharon's going to be in there too.
I'm sorry,
Sharon
Carter. She's gonna be in Black Widow.
Oh, really?
I feel like she might be in there. Because if it's coming to Shield, I'm thinking basically, Maria Hill's probably gonna make an appearance. Of course, Nick Fury's gonna definitely be in there, but Sharon Carter's probably definitely gonna be in there. So, because she is basically like she's been a Shield agent since Cap's been there, so she's basically, she's like a main character. I only say Maria Hill because Maria is she's more up down the line, and I feel like Maria is probably gonna be the one that's gonna probably help Black Widow probably, transcend and whatnot over that, that rim. Because if you watch many of the Avenger movies, they don't talk so much about Maria Hill, but she's actually in the movie. You just got to pay attention towards the character, who she is and whatnot, because she's basically second in command of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot. And, at one point down the line, she actually runs S.H.I.E.L.D. when Nick Fury slightly retires, but they need to give that character a lot more respect because she makes the story not just work well, but she's part of the whole thing. Like she helps run S.H.I.E.L.D., but it always seems like, oh, it's always Nick doing it. I'm like, nah, it's mostly Maria Hill, you know? And that's the thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting information. Okay, good to know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you know, anything is a possibility, right? Because like I said, one of the things that Marvel is really good about, especially, is tying things back to previous movies, right? Like the whole premise of Black Widow is that she mentions in the first Avengers movie to Loki that she has stuff on her ledger, right? So this is what this movie is. It's reflecting her ledger, right? It's reflecting the bad stuff that she mentioned. And I have to say, I'm also very excited about the villain Taskmaster.
Yes, I was gonna mention him, Taskmaster. Yep.
Yes, that is going to be super lit. Okay, so y'all know he's black.
The Taskmaster's
Hold
black?
on.
Did he get an appearance?
There is a version. There are multiple versions of him, and in one version he's black. I don't know if he's black in this one.
Okay, I was about to say
But there is versions of Taskmaster, at least according to one article that I read, where he's black. But like what I read, it describes that he was first introduced in Avengers. So like before, not in any separate comic book before the Avengers, but in Avengers. And he actually ended up revealing himself to Ant-Man, Yellow Jacket, who is Hank Pym at that time, and the Wasp, who is Hank Pym's wife. And so like they accidentally like uncovered one of his like schools or something like that for supervillain henchmen, because you know at one point this villain worked for Hydra.
He is a Hydra operative.
Mm-hmm.
He always been one, the Taskmaster. It was very interesting how they put him in. Was it the Avengers Civil War one? Mm-hmm. How they started off with that? It was very interesting because I was super. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I was super excited because I was like, damn, they're putting the Taskmaster. So I'm thinking like, I had all these crazy ideas that they were going to do, but they only gave me a little bit of it. It wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad at all. But I felt they could have kept rolling him more into the story and make it a little bit more creative. Because the Taskmaster...
because sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, E-Man, there. So I was just looking up more about him, and according to what I'm looking at here, the Ultimate Marvel version of Taskmaster, who appears in Ultimate Comics, Spider-Man, so in the Spider-Man series, is an African American mercenary.
That is true.
Okay. Yeah. Is true. So I don't know, because in the Black Widow movie, they don't show him without the mask in any of the scenes in the trailer. So I don't know whether he's black or not. But what I do know, or whether they went with this version, who is Anthony Masters. That's the black version of this character. But I'm super excited to see what they do with this villain, because he's not as well known a Marvel villain as some of the others. They have an opportunity to really create a new villain here that's going to excite people.
That's right. That is true. I apologize, but yeah, that is true. But the thing about with the Taskmaster is because he's a Hydra operative, and a lot of people are there's a lot of ranks in Hydra that many people don't know. And they always talk about the Red Skull when they talk about Hydra because, Captain America, but they don't even, break it down. That's why I was very shocked that my man Baron Zemo was actually in Civil War. And it was very interesting how they really pull like the Zemo story into there so they can create that character so everyone know who Zemo was.
Speaking of Zemo, I like him in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, he's amazing in there.
Yeah, yes, I love it. So far what I've seen, I love. I was surprised as hell to see that they pulled him in, but I'm glad that they did because I think it makes sense. Helps the story arc.
Right, they could build on him too, like build his character more. There's more character development there.
Exactly.
Well, it makes sense because because Captain America is my favorite superhero. Like he's my favorite Marvel and all-time superhero. So, and I've been, what I mean, I follow the Cap story, like, yeah, but basically, even though the Endgame switched the story around and whatnot, because in Endgames, Captain America is supposed to die, which thus, you know, they were looking for a new Captain America. Thus, Sam does become the new Captain America with the same suit he has in the movie, I mean, in the television show that he's in. But during that, as you see in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they talk about the black Captain America and whatnot, which that is actually true. In fact, and his name is Isaiah. But they switched the story around to recreate a whole new story to make sure, you know, because what in my eyes, they're telling me that Cap might come back out of the, like, you know, out of the quantum field. That's what they're probably telling me. Even though he doesn't want to, but I guarantee something's going to happen where he's going to leave.
But I thought Cap was actually dead. Like, he aged out. Like, he's just in the quantum, but like, because the last time you see him in Endgames, he is an older man who went back to live his life with the woman he always loved, Agent Carter, or whatever her name is, right? So I thought it was implying that, like, he actually ages out and passes away.
That's actually in the comic. He actually dies in the field, but they switched it around into, I think, another universe. But he definitely ages, but because he's in that quantum universe, it basically, his youth is still, you know, there and whatnot.
Okay.
If he X's out, basically, he'll be basically an old man.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, I feel you. That is an interesting point, E-Man. Interesting theory. All right. Well, okay, fellas. So unless anyone has anything else to add to the Black Widow, we'll move on to the next subject. But I think our overall consensus is that all three of us are excited to see it.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it in theaters.
I agree. Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely seeing it in theaters. I can't wait for the review.
I might see it in theaters too.
I can't wait till we do a review on this thing. So I'm super excited on this one.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
real quick. Speaking of Black Widow and the villain Taskmaster. So I'm excited for this movie and him being the villain because he has a multitude of different powers and abilities, but one of them is what's called photographic reflexes. So what he's able to do is he's able to look at what other superheroes, more so, I guess, super soldiers. I would say like more so like super soldiers, because I mean he can't mimic everybody's power, but he can mimic fighting styles. So, for example, he can look at like Captain America. He can look at the way Captain America fights, and he could fight exactly like Captain America. Yeah. So basically, photographic memory is one of his powers. And I mean, he's a master martial artist. He has superhuman reflexes and all that good stuff. But I know I always remember the photographic memory was one of his biggest powers. Like, he's just able to see like how one character fights, and he could duplicate it. So that's what makes him a tough opponent. And I'm just like, yeah, he's gonna look at Black Widow the way she fights, and yeah, that's gonna be a tough opponent for her. You know, because
that's interesting, because that's kind of like what Tony did at the end of Civil War when he had his suit like analyze Captain America's moves, and then he was able to mimic it. So this guy Taskmaster basically has a built-in version of that.
Right, he has a built-in version. Yep, that's his power right there. Photographic.
I like that. That's lit. Yep. Okay, excellent. Thank you for bringing that up, PAT. That's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Super cool.
That's why they call him the Taskmaster.
Yes, that makes perfect sense now, E-Man. Okay, I'm even more excited now to see it. So good stuff, fellas.